We need to talk about Eni Aluko. Last year, she went viral because she kind of took a dig at Ian Wright. She made comments basically accusing Ian Wright of blocking opportunities for females in sports broadcasting by taking big jobs within women's football punditry. Eni Aluko also expects women to be involved in men's football punditry, but had an issue when a man was involved in women's football punditry. It was just pure hypocrisy. It's just pure hypocrisy, and she, rightly so, got a lot of backlash. I think football punditry jobs should be given off, are you good at analysis or not? It shouldn't be given to you because you've played the game or you've got this many caps or you're this gender or this race. It should be given to you because you're good at your job. And Ian Wright got given punditry roles within women's football because he's a good pundit. He is a better pundit than Eni Aluko, and it doesn't take a genius to say that. And I think it was really important that Ian Wright, for a diversity reason as well, was also a pundit for the Women's Euro final, because we have an issue with women's football where men just don't take it seriously online. They laugh about it, they tweet about it. There was English men wanting their women's team to lose the Euros final so they can joke about it online and joke about the penalty. So I actually think when you have Ian Wright as a pundit for the Women's Euros final, I think that's great in terms of representation, because you've got a man who's very well respected within football, taking the women's game seriously. And also, he's a very good pundit. He's very passionate. He's not there because he's Ian Wright. He's there because he's interested in the game. He's a good pundit. But also, if we're looking at representation, I think it's important. I think representation and diversity is important. But you cannot have an issue with men being involved in the women's game if you want women to be involved in the men's game. It's hypocrisy. So Eni Aluko apologised, and Ian Wright, rightly rejected her apology. Now, everything had gone quiet. People have forgotten about Eni Aluko, and then she starts popping off again. She's now doubling down on her take. She's saying that her and Farrah Williams had 290 caps between them, but they've not been asked to be a pundit for the Women's Euro final, but Ian Wright has. Ian Wright is a better pundit than you. It doesn't matter how many caps you have. If you are a better pundit, you should be working on the finals. For me, Paul Scholes is one of my favourite Manchester United players as a player. As a pundit, atrocious. Paul Scholes has more caps than most people in the world of football. But I tell you what, there's a lot more people I'd rather listen to talk about Man United and Paul Scholes, because all Paul Scholes does is laugh at Sandro Martinez. I would rather listen to H off the overlap, Harrison off the overlap breakdown, talk about Man United, who's never played professional football, than Paul Scholes, because I think his analysis is better. And when it comes to punditry, I want to listen to people that I think have the fairest takes, the fairest analysis, because that's what it should be about. I don't care if that's a man, I don't care if that's a woman. I think it should be the best people get the best jobs. And I think Ian Wright is one of the best people, and he got that Women's Euro final. I think Eni Aluko is a bad pundit. I think there's bad male pundits out there. I think there's good female pundits out there, but there's also bad female pundits out there and good male pundits out there, if you know what I mean. Now, what did Eni Aluko actually say? What is causing this outrage? Last year, at the Women's Lionesses final, I'm sat in the stands. I wasn't on ITV for the final. Farrah Williams was sit next to me. Farrah has 170 caps, or 172, for England, something ridiculous. I think she is the most capped player, and she sat in the stands. Just because you're the most capped player doesn't mean you're the best pundit. And this is no dig at Farrah Williams. I think she's good, but I don't think playing the most amount of games instantly makes you the best person to talk about football. I think we've seen that, because I think some of the best pundits in men's football played a lot less games than some of the worst pundits in men's football. Do you know what I mean? She then says, two broadcasters had the rights, ITV and BBC. BBC, you've got Ellen White, Steph Newton, and Nedum, who is a man. And she then goes, no offence to Nedum, but, has he even played for England? I don't care if you've played for England. If I'm looking at football analysis and football punditry, I want good analysis. I don't care if you play for England or not. If you play for England, then the analysis is crap. I don't want to listen to you. If you haven't played for England, but you're a good pundit, I want to listen to you. Do you know what I mean? So she goes on about that. And she says that I'm in the stands with 105 caps. You've got Farrah Williams in the stands with 170 caps. You've got about 290 caps between us. And you turn on ITV and it's Ian Wright, Emma Hayes, and Kaz Carney. And she goes, out of the 6 punditry spots, 2 have gone to men. Meanwhile, you've got 290 caps sitting in the stands. She then said, I've never done a final. I'm going to struggle to think of any woman, any female pundit that's done a final in the men's game. La 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 la. She's saying, I'm talking about as a pundit. It doesn't happen. Something's not right there. You know, she's talking about women pundits not really being involved in men's games finals. La, la, la. So then she's having an issue that Ian Wright and Nedham, two male pundits, are talking and being a pundit in the women's game final. And then she says she's got nothing against Ian. She's got nothing against them. She's just saying broadly, we need to be aware of this because we're building a game where limited opportunities are now being taken by men. La, 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 la. Is essentially what she said and what she went on about. And it's just like, she doesn't help herself. Like, her lack of self-awareness is just, it's worrying. It's worrying. Her point is she should be a pundit in the England Women's Euro final because she's a woman with over 100 caps. And that apparently it's not fair, you know, having Ian Wright do that job. And as I said many times, I don't know what this thinking is, that if you've played the game, you've had loads of caps, you are the best pundit. Oh my God, like, some of the pundits and commentators out there that have played the game aren't great. Like, I love Paul Scholes. When he talks about Man United, I think he's full of rubbish the way he goes on about Lisandro Martinez, and he's what made the second most appearances for us. Robbie Savage, you know, fantastic player. The amount of times he's made a mistake on commentary or he said something that I'm just like, well, that didn't happen. Do you know what I mean? Like, you could be a good footballer and a bad pundit. And you can be a good pundit and a bad footballer. It's not, they don't go together. But the big problem is she expects roles in men's football. Eni Aluko expects roles in men's football. She expects to be a pundit in men's football, but yet has an issue when male pundits are working in women's football. And it's just hypocrisy. You cannot have it both ways. You cannot have it both ways. I think it's good to have men and women working in both men and women's football. I think it's good to have diversity. I think it's good to have equal opportunity. But we need to make sure we're employing people, not because they're a man, not because they're a woman, not because of this, not because of that. We're employing people because they're good pundits and they have good level analysis. And this is a summary of basically what Eni Aluko said. She criticised the involvement of male pundits in women's football. She questioned why Ian Wright and Nedham were part of the Women's Euro final coverage when they're both very well respected and very good at their jobs. And I think it's unfair. Like, if I was to be honest, and I don't want to be mean, but I just think Eni Aluko's a bad pundit. I think she's not getting work because she's not a good pundit. There's Izzy Christensen's a woman. She's a much better pundit than Eni Aluko. Kate Abdu, you could argue she's more of a presenter, but she really compliments Micah and Jamie and all of that. I mean, there's just a lot better people out there than Eni Aluko that are female, that I think most men would rather see Izzy Christensen than Eni Aluko talk about football, because I think Izzy Christensen, personally for me, is a better pundit of the two. She's claiming that men are blocking opportunities for female pundits. Well, you've got 4 females and 2 men out of the 6 punditry roles. It's still majoritarily women, so I don't see what the issue is with that. And she's argued women's football should be by women for women, but she wants women's football and men's football. If you want just women talking about women's football, then you shouldn't have a problem with just men talking about men's football. I think it should be mixed, and I think it should be mixed not necessarily because of diversity, but because of bringing in people that you think are best for the job. I just think her comments were silly. And the problem with her argument is it's not about representation. I think it's about gatekeeping. And I think it comes, and I might be wrong here, but I think it comes from a point of jealousy. She's kind of been found out for maybe not being the best pundit. She got her opportunities and she wasn't great. Was she over-criticised? Yes. Do I think people go in on her more than other pundits? Yes. Eni Aluko could say something and it could be wrong and it's going to go viral. Robbie Savage has said a million things on commentary, but I'm pretty sure like he's been wrong or he's got a fact wrong. It never goes viral. Of course, she's going to get more hate. And of course, some of the hate that she gets is over the top. It's unfair. But ultimately, she isn't the best pundit. And she's not getting jobs really anymore in football because she isn't a great pundit and she does talk a lot of crap. And I think maybe, and I could be wrong, there's a bit of jealousy there that she's no longer getting these jobs and Ian Wright is. So instead of admitting to herself, oh, maybe Ian Wright is getting this job because he's a better pundit or he's better at punditry than me, instead of admitting that maybe Ian Wright is getting the job because he's better than her, she's going, that's not fair. I've played women's football for England. I should be in that job, not Ian. But then also wants to be working as a pundit in the men's game, but has an issue with men working as pundits in the female games. And I think saying men shouldn't be involved it mirrors the exact extreme exclusion that women fought against. Women fought against being excluded from broadcasting men's sport. So then to say men can't broadcast women's sport, it's hypocrisy. It's a stupid thing, and she's just not helping herself. Equality isn't achieved by excluding others. It's achieved by merit. It's not about box ticking. It's about getting the best analysis, but making sure, opportunities are open to everyone, and you bring in the best people for the job. We cannot demand inclusion while arguing for exclusion, and that is what Eni Aluko is doing, and that's costing her. She's singled out Ian Wright. Ian Wright is great because he's a great pundit, he cares about the women's football, and I also think representation is important, as I said at the beginning of the video. I think there's a lot of men that joke and laugh at women's football, so when you have Ian Wright taking it seriously, showing a love for the game, being on TV in a final, this is a footballer that a lot of those men that take the piss out of women's football idolised growing up. So I think it's good for them to see someone like Ian Wright on TV taking it seriously. But also, Ian Wright cares, and he's a good pundit. And I think Ian Wright is one of the biggest allies in women's football. He promotes the game with a genuine passion. He's not doing women's football for a paycheck. He's not doing women's football to tick a box. He's doing women's football because he's a good pundit that genuinely cares. He's invested in grassroots coaching for girls. He uses his platform to grow audiences. He brings the right message. Ian Wright taking a job that Eni Aluko wanted is probably a good thing, because they've given it to Ian Wright because he's the best man for the job, rather than giving it to Eni Aluko because she's got caps for England's women's and she's a woman. No, you give people the job because they're the best people for the job. You've got to look at, making sure everyone has equal opportunity, and I think diversity is important. But I think Ian Wright being there was fantastic. And this argument that she and Farah should be on it because they got the most caps, I just think is silly. I don't want to keep slandering Paul Scholes, but I don't think having a certain amount of games makes you a better pundit. I personally don't. Look, some of you guys might say, Alice, I'd rather listen to, a professional footballer talk about footballer than you because you've never played the game at that level. And you know what? That's fair. But I mean, I've seen Gabby Abonlahor on Talk Sport say absolute waffle a million times. I think there's some people out there that haven't played the game professionally that do really good level analysis. Like, I think if I was looking at YouTubers, as I said earlier, I think Harrison from The Overlap is a great YouTuber. I think James Alcott is a great YouTuber. Sometimes I'd rather actually listen to YouTubers talk about football than some of the pros when I'm looking at analysis and levels. And obviously there's some great people out there. I think Monday Night Football is great. I think Jamie Carragher does some great work on Monday Night Football. Sometimes I think he says stuff and I'm like, what are you waffling about? What are you going on about? But sometimes he does some really good analysis work. And, Jamie Carragher, and he's probably the most successful out of all the male pundits because he does actually do some really good work. Even if I don't agree with some of his takes, and sometimes I think he's waffling, he does do some really good work. And I think, being a good pundit is difficult. It's very difficult. Being a good footballer does not automatically make you a good pundit. You need to do football analysis. You need to care. You need to watch a lot of games. You need to know how to present yourself. And there's many elite players out there that just haven't been the best pundits. There's many elite players out there that are good pundits. It's finals are difficult things. We're talking about the Euros final. You've got to be calm. You've got to have good tactical understanding. You've got to have good clarity. The job is analysis. It's not football CV. When you apply for a job in football analysis, are you going to go there and say, well, I played this, and this? Or are you going to go there and say, I've experienced an analysis in this, and this, and I've done a good job at it? For me, if I was an employer, I want an employee that has experience in football analysis, not playing football. Do you know what I mean? And I just think there's a bit of hypocrisy there because women do appear on major men's finals. We've seen Emma Hayes, we've seen Karen Carney, we've seen Alex Scott feature in big men's games. So I don't think there should be an issue with Ian Wright featuring on a major women's final. I think Alex Scott is great. I think Emma Hayes, obviously she's a manager, but very, very, very knowledgeable. I think Karen Carney is great. I think Izzy Christensen is great. I think, there's some really good women pundits out there. And I personally don't think Eni Aluko is one of them. I think she is a poor pundit. As I said, there's many poor male pundits out there. And that's nothing against her. She's a fantastic footballer. But the reason she's not getting work is because there's better people out there. It's not because Ian Wright is blocking opportunities for her. It's not because this person's blocking opportunities for her. There's just better people out there. And I think she just needs to accept that rather than be jealous and keep taking shots and rage baiting, I think she definitely receives more criticism than other pundits. And I think some of the criticism she gets is way over the top and unfair. Like, people still go on about her maths, that's a goal a game. And it's just like, well, that's just a mistake that everyone makes. And people, I think that's a silly exaggeration to use. But, there are good pundits, there's bad pundits, and the best thing you can do is employ the best pundits. Doesn't matter what gender they are, and if they're interested, you stick them in that job. And Ian Wright is a fantastic pundit that's interested in women's football. That is brilliant when he talks about the game, and he rightly deserves that job. Let me know your thoughts down below. Thank you for watching. Bye.